Airport staff kicked out Miara O'Neill but regretted everything when her father, Big Shaq, arrived. A cloudless morning sky hung over Los Angeles International Airport, a place where travelers scurried through terminals with wheeled suitcases and coffee cups. 17-year-old Miara O'Neill, known by friends for her towering height and determined stride, stepped out of a black SUV. She was dressed simply, track pants, a hoodie, sneakers, yet she carried herself with a quiet confidence, an air inherited from her famous father, Shaquille O'Neal. Few recognized her on sight, especially in the crowd's hustle. She was flying to a youth basketball camp in Chicago, a chance to refine her skills and prove she wasn't just Shaq's daughter. She wanted to earn respect on her own terms. Brushing aside a wave of nerves, she clutched her ticket and passport, gliding into the terminal. At the check-in counter, only a short line formed. That was a relief. A bored-looking clerk named Tina waited behind the desk, glancing at her watch. Miara approached, sliding over her documents. Tina barely glanced at them before her gaze shifted to Miara's tall frame and casual clothes. "Where to?" she asked, monotone. "Chicago," Miara said softly, her face calm. "One bag to check?" Miara nodded. Tina rolled her eyes, scanning the ticket suspiciously. "This is a business-class seat," she remarked flatly. Miara nodded again. "Yes, that's correct." Tina's lips pursed. "You're sure about that?" She looked Miara up and down, eyebrows raised. "These tickets are expensive, you know." Miara's posture tensed. She forced a polite smile. "I know. It's mine." Tina blinked, unimpressed. "We can't just let anyone claim business class." "Let me see some ID again." Miara quietly handed over her driver's license. Tina scrutinized it for too long, then exhaled. "Fine. I guess it checks out. Gate C22, boarding in an hour." She shoved the boarding pass across the counter. Miara's cheeks warmed. She tried not to dwell on the condescending attitude, telling herself to keep calm. With her luggage checked, she moved on, heading for security. That's when the next hurdle appeared. TSA lines looked typical at first: families with strollers, business travelers scrolling phones. Miara queued up, placing her backpack in a bin, but halfway through the scanner, a TSA officer barked, "Ma'am, step aside. We need additional screening." She frowned, stepping aside politely. "Is something wrong?" "No, just a random check," the agent said, but his eyes flicked over her, doubt creeping into his tone. He waved over another agent, who began rummaging through her bag. They pulled out her sneakers, rolled-up jersey, notebooks, basketball gear. "You play?" one asked, half smirking. "That's right," she said quietly. "I'm going to a camp." The agent nodded, unsmiling. "Next time, consider arriving earlier. This might take a while." Miara's chest tightened with annoyance. She folded her arms, enduring the prolonged search. Eventually, they let her go after unpacking everything and swiping for explosives, 20 minutes of extra hassle for no apparent reason. She restuffed her bag, biting back the urge to ask if they always singled out teenagers with big frames. As she neared her gate, her phone buzzed. A text from her father. "Shaq, how's it going, baby girl? Need anything?" She typed back. "Miara, all good, Dad. Thanks." No sense worrying him. She wanted to do this alone. Yet her troubles weren't over. Approaching gate C22, she found a cluster of airline staff, including a man in a blazer with a name tag reading Charles, supervisor. He stared at her as she approached, then strode forward, arms crossed. "Excuse me, miss," he said curtly. "We've received information that your seat may have been issued incorrectly. Could I see your boarding pass again?" Miara extended the pass, controlling her frustration. Charles studied it for a moment, frowning. "Business class. That's unusual for someone your age." He looked pointedly at her casual outfit. "You traveling alone?" She forced a calm tone. "Yes, alone. My father got the ticket." She hesitated, not wanting to name-drop her dad, but feeling cornered. Charles shrugged dismissively. "Well, the system flagged it. We can't allow you to board unless we verify payment details. What do you mean? Flagged it, she asked. I paid. I have the confirmation email on my phone. He held up a hand. We need more than your word. Turning to an agent behind him, Charles murmured, let's take her to the side. The agent nodded, gesturing for Miara to follow them away from the main boarding area. Her pulse pounded. This was too much. She complied, cursing under her breath that they simply refused to trust her. In a small nook near a closed coffee kiosk, Charles demanded to see her credit card, the phone with the flight information and matching ID. She did so, face burning with embarrassment. Passers-by glanced curiously as she displayed the info. Charles's eyes narrowed. Who is the cardholder's name? S. O'Neill, Miara inhaled. Shaquille O'Neal. He's my father. Charles blinked, then a sneer curved his lip. Oh, so you're claiming you're Shaq's daughter? He peered at her skeptically. Nice try. She stared, stunned. I'm not claiming anything. It's the truth. He shook his head. You kids come up with all sorts of stories. Look, miss, we can't accept this. I'll have to void your ticket. Her jaw dropped. You can't do that. I have a valid reservation. He smirked, shrugging. We have the right to deny boarding if we suspect fraud. That's airline policy. He motioned to the agent. Escort her out. If it's real, let the Real card holder come here himself to fix it. That was the final blow. The agent took her arm, guiding her forcibly toward the terminal exit. Miara's eyes stung with tears of humiliation. She pulled out her phone, frantic. Her father had insisted she call him if something happened. Time to call. She dialed. He picked up almost immediately. Dad, her voice shook. They're kicking me out of the airport. They think my ticket is fake. They won't let me board. On the other end, Shaquille O'Neal's deep voice resonated with immediate concern. What? I'm near baggage claim, she managed before the agent glared, indicating she had to move along. Please hurry. They're forcing you out? Shaq's voice sharpened. Stay put. I'm on my way. They escorted her out of the secure area, ignoring her pleas, until they reached a side exit that led to the arrivals area. Passers-by watched, some filming on their phones, uncertain what was happening. The staff parted, leaving her standing by the sliding doors, her boarding pass confiscated. She felt humiliated, tears rolling down her cheeks, but she refused to let them see her cry. Turning away, she texted her location to her dad. Minutes ticked by like hours. Finally, a black SUV screeched to a halt at the curb. The tall figure stepping out was instantly recognizable, Shaquille O'Neal, Big Shaq, famed NBA legend. Wearing a casual tracksuit but exuding unmistakable presence, he strode forward. Heads turned. A buzz rippled through the crowd. Shaq spotted his daughter, towering above the staff. Miara, you okay? He asked softly, resting a giant hand on her shoulder. She nodded tearfully, hugging him. He then faced the staff, anger evident in his dark eyes. Someone want to explain why you're throwing my daughter out? Charles, the supervisor, approached with forced composure. Sir, we had reason to believe her ticket was purchased fraudulently. She claimed you were her father. Shaq's brow shot up. Claimed? He looked from Charles to the other staff, then back to Miara, whose cheeks burned. She told you who I am, and you call her a liar? Charles gulped. Airline policies. We need verification. Shaq raised a huge hand for silence. Verification, huh? More like you harassed and humiliated her for no good reason. Shaq stared down at them, frustration lacing every syllable. You could have checked my contact info. One phone call. Instead, you kicked her out. That's how you treat passengers. The agent stammered. We have the right. Shaq's powerful voice cut through. The right to discriminate? The right to call a young black woman a liar because you don't believe she can afford business class? My name is on that ticket. You want proof? You have it now. So let's handle this properly. A crowd formed, phones lifted, capturing the tense scene. One by one, the staff realized they had made a colossal mistake. Shaq's reputation as a kind but no-nonsense figure preceded him, and they now saw the potential PR disaster unfolding. Charles attempted a weak apology. "We're sorry for the inconvenience, Mr. O'Neill. Please step inside, and we will." Shaq folded his arms, towering over them. "Not so fast. My daughter's flight leaves soon. We need her boarding pass back and a real apology. Then we'll see if we proceed." Charles flushed. He quickly produced the confiscated pass. "Of course, sir." "So sorry. We'll escort her to the gate." "No more trouble." Shaq took the pass, handing it to Miara. "Apologize to her directly. Not me." His voice was quiet but firm. Charles turned to Miara, face reddening. "I'm sorry, Miss O'Neill. We misunderstood." Miara pressed her lips tight, nodding slightly. Shaq guided her inside, ignoring the stares. She stuck close, relief and lingering humiliation mixing. The staff, stumbling over themselves, led them to a special service desk, where a senior manager greeted them with effusive apologies. They quickly reissued her boarding pass, confirmed her seat, and insisted they escort her through expedited security. Meanwhile, passengers recognized Shaq, snapping photos from afar, though no one dared approach for autographs in the tense atmosphere. Miara gave her father a thankful look as they walked. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "I wanted to handle it alone." His big hand squeezed her shoulder gently. "You did your best, baby girl. This was their mistake, not yours. Don't apologize for that." At the gate, staff practically fell over themselves, offering free upgrades or lounge passes. Shaq waved them off, making it clear what they really wanted was an apology for the disrespect shown. The manager stammered out a final regretful apology. "We assure you, Miss O'Neill, we'll investigate the incident thoroughly." Miara sighed. "I appreciate it. Just treat people better." That was all she wanted, for no one else to go through this. Before she boarded, Shaq pulled her into a brief hug. "You text me the moment you land, okay? Don't let this overshadow your camp. Show them your skills." She nodded, tears threatening again, though now from gratitude. "Thanks, Dad," she whispered. "I'll make you proud." Stepping onto the plane, Miara inhaled, shoulders relaxing. She found her seat, ignoring the curious gazes. Slowly, her heart settled. She was on her way to chase her basketball dreams despite the fiasco. Yes, the memory stung, but she wouldn't let it define her. The man who had once stood 7 feet tall, dominating NBA courts, had arrived to defend his daughter and, in doing so, reminded the world that no one should be judged by appearances or doubted for occupying space they rightfully earned. Miara spent the week at the basketball camp, nailing drills, surprising coaches with her skill. If any tension lingered from the airport fiasco, she channeled it into each jump shot, each layup. In a way, the adversity only sharpened her resolve. At the camp's final scrimmage, she played with heart, earning a standing ovation from coaches. That night, she texted her dad. "Today was great. We did it." His reply came swift. "Proud of you, baby. Hashtag bigger than basketball." Yes, bigger than basketball. Bigger than prejudice or assumptions. She carried that lesson forward, determined never to let anyone doubt her place in the world again. That experience at the airport stayed with Miara, but instead of letting it break her, she let it fuel her. Every morning at camp, she woke up before the others, hitting the gym before sunrise. The echoes of the basketball bouncing off the hardwood became her morning rhythm. Coaches took notice. She wasn't just Shaquille O'Neal's daughter, she was an athlete in her own right. The drills were grueling, but she pushed through, perfecting her footwork, refining her shot, and sharpening her defense. On the third day, Coach Henderson pulled her aside. "You've got something special, kid. Your game speaks for itself." That was all she wanted, to be recognized for her own work, not her last name. She texted her dad after practice. "Feeling strong. Working hard. That's my girl. Stay focused." She never told him, but she saved those messages. They reminded her of why she was here. On the last day of camp, there was a final showcase game. Scouts from top colleges sat courtside, clipboards in hand. The pressure was high, but Miara thrived in it. She locked in, playing her best basketball yet. She stole passes, hit deep jumpers, and battled in the paint. By the fourth quarter, she had racked up 22 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. The crowd erupted after one particularly tough layup. The whistle blew. Game over. Her team had won. But more than that, she had proven something to herself and to everyone watching. After the game, she checked her phone. A new message from her father. Saw the highlights. Knew you had it in you. Keep working. She smiled. The flight home was smoother than her departure. No security issues, no skeptical airline staff. When she landed, Shaq was waiting outside in his SUV. She tossed her bag in the back and slid into the passenger seat. He glanced over at her. So, how'd it go? She grinned. It went great. Proud of you, he said simply. Now let's get some food. I'm starving. She laughed. No long speeches, no deep conversations, just understanding. That was her dad. As they drove through the city, Miara stared out the window, thinking about everything that had happened. The humiliation, the fight to prove herself, the win. It was all part of the journey. And she was just getting started. Miara leaned back in the passenger seat, staring out the window as the city lights blurred past. The exhaustion from the camp finally hit her, but it was the good kind of tired, the kind that told her she had given everything she had. Shaq glanced over at her as he drove, one hand on the wheel, the other tapping against the console to the rhythm of the music playing softly in the background. You hungry? He asked. She nodded, stretching out her long legs. Starving. Good. You earned a feast. They pulled into a small restaurant that Shaq had been going to for years. It was nothing fancy, just a quiet spot with good food and no cameras in their faces. The moment they stepped inside, a few heads turned, but no one rushed over. Shaq had that kind of presence. People noticed him, but they also respected his face. They found a booth near the back, away from the main crowd. Miara barely glanced at the menu before ordering a burger with extra fries. Shaq, of course, ordered enough food for 3 people. As they waited, he leaned back and studied her for a moment. You good? He asked. She knew what he meant. He wasn't just asking about the camp. He was asking about everything. The airport. The way she had been treated. The way she had to fight just to sit in a seat she had already paid for. She exhaled, twirling the straw in her drink. Yeah. I mean, it sucked. But I didn't let it stop me. Shaq nodded slowly. That's how you do it. They try to block your path, you push through. I just don't get why it happened in the first place, she admitted. Why did they assume I couldn't be in business class? Why did they need so much proof? His jaw clenched slightly, and for a moment, he looked like he wanted to say something stronger. Instead, he took a deep breath. People see what they want to see. Sometimes, no matter what you say, they've already decided who you are in their minds. Doesn't matter if you have the right ticket, the right ID. Some people just refuse to believe you belong. She frowned, gripping her cup a little tighter. It's not fair. Nope, he said simply. But that's why you keep proving them wrong. Their food arrived, and for a while, they just ate. The conversation drifted to basketball, camp highlights, and what she needed to work on next. By the time they left the restaurant, Miara felt lighter. Not because she had forgotten what happened at the airport, but because she had decided it wouldn't define her. The following weeks were a blur of school, training, and preparing for the next big tournament. Word about the airport incident had spread online, though Miara tried not to pay too much attention. People had their opinions, but she knew the truth. One afternoon, as she sat in the gym lacing up her sneakers, her phone buzzed. A notification popped up, an article about her. She sighed, debating whether to click on it. Eventually, curiosity won. The headline read, Miara O'Neill's airport ordeal sparks debate on racial profiling in travel. She skimmed through it, her stomach tightening as she read how people were reacting. Some were supportive, outraged on her behalf. Others dismissed it, saying she was playing the victim or pulling the race card. She tossed her phone aside, frustrated. Why did people always have to twist things? Her coach blew the whistle, signaling the start of practice. She pushed everything out of her mind, focusing on the drills. Sweat dripped down her back as she ran the court, dodging defenders, taking shots, and perfecting her passes. Basketball was her escape. It was the one place where everything made sense. After practice, as she was heading to the locker room, one of her teammates jogged up beside her. "I saw that article," the girl said hesitantly. "That whole thing at the airport. That was crazy." Miara shrugged, not really wanting to talk about it. "Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine," her teammate continued. "Like, if I showed up in sweats and said I had a business class ticket, no one would question me. But you," she trailed off, looking uncomfortable. Miara glanced at her. "But me what?" The girl hesitated. "You know, because you're—" Miara finished the sentence for her. "Because I'm black?" The girl's face turned red. "I didn't mean it like that." "It's fine," Miara said, cutting her off. "You're not wrong." The girl shifted awkwardly. I'm sorry that happened to you." Miara sighed. "Yeah, me too." That night, she sat on her bed, scrolling through more comments. Some strangers defended her. Others accused her of exaggerating. The worst ones claimed she had only been treated that way because she looked suspicious. She threw her phone onto her pillow, staring at the ceiling. A knock on the door made her sit up. Shaq peeked his head in. "You all right?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah." He didn't look convinced. He stepped inside, sitting on the edge of her bed. "People still talking?" She shrugged. "I don't even care." He gave her a knowing look. "You care?" She exhaled. "I just don't get why people don't believe me. Or why they think it's not a big deal." Shaq leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "People don't like to admit when things are messed up. If they accept what happened to you, then they have to admit it could happen to anyone. And that's uncomfortable. So instead of facing the truth, they make excuses." She thought about that for a while. "What do I do?" she finally asked. "You keep living your life," he said. "Keep proving them wrong. And when people doubt you, you don't waste time arguing. You show them who you are." The next morning, she woke up before the sun, laced up her sneakers, and hit the gym. The sound of the ball hitting the court echoed through the empty gym. She worked on her footwork, her shot, her endurance. She pushed herself harder than ever. A month later, during a big tournament, she stepped onto the court with a fire in her eyes. She played like she had something to prove, not just to the coaches, but to herself. She dominated the game, scoring, defending, leading her team to victory. The crowd erupted when the final buzzer rang. After the game, as she was leaving the locker room, a reporter approached her. "Miara, incredible performance tonight. Do you have anything to say to those who doubted you after the airport incident?" She wiped the sweat from her forehead and looked the reporter straight in the eye. "This," she said simply, gesturing to the court behind her. "This is my answer." Shaq watched from the stands, arms crossed, a proud smile on his face. She had proven them wrong. And she wasn't done yet. Miara knew that no matter how many times she proved herself, there would always be people who doubted her. Some would never see her as more than Shaq's daughter. Others would question her talent, her achievements, even her right to be in certain spaces. But she wasn't playing for them. She was playing for herself. The weeks after the tournament were intense. Her performance had caught the attention of several college scouts, and her name was starting to circulate in basketball circles beyond just being associated with her father. She trained harder than ever, determined to earn her place, not inherit it. One afternoon, as she was finishing up a workout, her phone buzzed with a call. It was her father. "Yo, baby girl," Shaq's deep voice rumbled through the speaker. "Got something to tell you." She wiped sweat from her forehead. "What's up? You remember Coach Williams from LSU?" Miara's heartbeat quickened. Of course, she knew Coach Williams. He had been one of the top recruiters watching her last game. "Yeah? He wants to meet," Shaq said. "Wants to talk about your future." She sucked in a breath. She had dreamed of playing college ball at a high level, and LSU was one of the schools she had considered. But she also knew that nothing was guaranteed. When she asked, trying to keep her voice steady, "Tomorrow," Shaq said. "I'll go with you." The next day, Miara walked into the LSU facility with her father beside her, feeling the weight of the moment. She was used to people reacting to Shaq's presence, coaches, players, even the staff whispered as he passed by, but she kept her focus. This meeting was about her. Coach Williams greeted them warmly, shaking Miara's hand firmly before sitting down across from them in his office. "I've been watching you," he said, looking directly at her. "Not just the name on your jersey. Your game. Your work ethic. You've got something special." Miara felt a flicker of pride, but kept her face neutral. "I know a lot of people will compare you to your dad," Williams continued. "That's unavoidable. But I don't want you to be the next Shaq. I want you to be the first Miara O'Neal." She nodded. That was exactly what she wanted too. They talked for nearly an hour, about training, team dynamics, academics. Coach Williams made it clear that she would have to work just as hard as anyone else. Nothing would be handed to her. And that was exactly what she wanted to hear. When they left, Shaq clapped a hand on her shoulder. "Proud of you, baby girl. No matter what you decide." She looked up at him, the father who had always been larger than life, both literally and figuratively. "I'm just getting started." The grind continued. The airport incident became a distant memory, just another obstacle she had pushed through. But she never forgot the lesson. She knew that no matter how much success she achieved, she would always have her place. That was the reality of being a young Black woman in a world that constantly questioned her worth. But she had never been one to back down. Months passed, and the pressure only intensified. The recruitment process was heating up, with more schools expressing interest. Some coaches were upfront, praising her skills and potential. Others danced around the real issue, subtly implying that her last name was the main attraction. She ignored the noise and kept working. One night, after a long day of training, she sat on her bed scrolling through social media. A notification popped up, another article about her. This one wasn't about the airport incident or her father's legacy. It was about her game. Miara O'Neal, more than just a name. She clicked on it, her eyes scanning the words quickly. The writer had actually watched her play, breaking down her strengths, her weaknesses, her growth. No mention of her father until the very last paragraph, and, even then, it was just an acknowledgement. For the first time, she felt seen for who she was, not just who she was related to. She sent the link to her dad. "Miara, read this. First article that actually talks about me. Shaq, love to see it. But I knew you were the truth." She smiled, setting her phone aside. The next tournament was a major one, highly scouted, nationally televised. She had been training for this moment, pushing her body to the limit, sharpening her skills. When she stepped onto the court, the energy was electric. She locked eyes with her teammates, nodding once. Game time. From the opening tip, she dominated. She moved with confidence, weaving through defenders, knocking down shots, blocking anything that came near her. The crowd roared as she scored back-to-back three-pointers, then followed up with a steal and a fast break dunk. The commentators took notice. This isn't just Shaq's daughter. This is a future star in her own right. By the end of the game, she had racked up a double-double, leading her team to a decisive victory. As she walked off the court, sweaty and exhausted, she spotted a group of scouts whispering among themselves, jotting down notes. She knew what they were writing. After the game, as she was heading to the locker room, a reporter caught up with her. "Miara, incredible performance tonight. A lot of people have been waiting to see if you could live up to your father's legacy. Do you think you've proven that?" She wiped sweat from her brow, looking the reporter in the eye. "I'm not trying to live up to anyone else's legacy," she said firmly. "I'm building my own." Shaq watched from the stands, arms crossed, a proud smile playing on his lips. She had done it again. She had proven them wrong. And she still wasn't done. The next morning, Miara woke up to her phone buzzing nonstop. Her performance from the night before had gone viral. Clips of her dunk, her defense, and her leadership on the court were everywhere. Sports analysts were talking about her on major networks, and social media was flooded with comments. Some people were finally giving her credit for her skills, acknowledging that she was more than just Shaq's daughter. Others still insisted she was only getting attention because of her last name. She ignored the negativity. She had learned a long time ago that proving herself wasn't about changing people's opinions, it was about being undeniable. Her dad called later that afternoon. "Seen the clips?" he asked. "Yeah," she said, rubbing her temples. "Some people still don't get it." Shaq chuckled. "They don't need to get it. You do. And everyone who matters? They see what's happening." She exhaled, nodding even though he couldn't see her. "Yeah, I know. You played your heart out," he said. "That's all that matters. Keep going." She hung up feeling lighter. Recruiters started reaching out more aggressively. Official visits were being scheduled. Some coaches tried the usual tactics, reminding her of how much her father had accomplished. Others focused on what she could bring to their program. She paid attention to the ones who saw her for who she was, not just where she came from. One evening, she was sitting in the gym after practice when her coach walked over. "Got a minute?" She nodded, wiping sweat from her face as she sat down on the bleachers. "Word is, you've got offers coming in from everywhere," coach said. "But I can tell you're still thinking it over." She sighed. "I just want to make the right choice. The school that sees me, not just my dad." Coach nodded. "You will. But don't rush it. The right fit isn't just about basketball. It's about where you feel at home." She thought about that for a long time. The days passed, filled with workouts, film sessions, and long conversations with her family. She kept her focus, blocking out distractions. She knew that wherever she ended up, the pressure wouldn't stop. The expectations would only grow. But she was ready. When the time finally came to announce her decision, she sat in front of the cameras, a row of hats from different schools in front of her. Reporters whispered, cameras flashed. She took a deep breath, reached forward, and picked up the hat. The room erupted. She had made her choice. Miara stood up from the table where she had just announced her decision, shaking hands with coaches and taking photos while her phone buzzed relentlessly in her pocket. She could already imagine the reactions online, some people celebrating, others questioning her choice, analysts breaking down every possible reason behind her decision. But none of that mattered. She had made the decision for herself. Her family stood nearby, Shaq grinning proudly, her siblings clapping and hyping her up. She felt a sense of relief, like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders, but she knew this was just the beginning. That night, she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The reality of it all was sinking in. The next phase of her life was about to begin, and there was no turning back. She had worked her entire life for this, but she also knew that college basketball would be an entirely different challenge. The game would be faster, tougher, and the expectations higher than ever. The first day on campus was overwhelming. Cameras flashed the moment she stepped out of the car, reporters calling out questions, students whispering as they recognized her. Some were excited to see her, others were already skeptical. She knew the assumptions, people thinking she was only here because of her name, that she was handed this opportunity instead of earning it. She ignored the noise and focused on what she came here to do. Practice was brutal. College basketball was a different beast. The players were stronger, the competition more intense, the coaching more demanding. Her first week, she struggled to keep up. She had always been dominant in high school, but here, she wasn't the biggest or the strongest anymore. She had to adjust. She had to prove she belonged. She spent extra hours in the gym, studying film, working on her weaknesses. She refused to be outworked. Slowly, things started to click. Her confidence grew, her game sharpened. The coaches noticed. The team noticed. She wasn't just another recruit, she was a competitor. Her first game in a college uniform was nerve-wracking. The arena was packed, cameras everywhere, expectations through the roof. She took a deep breath, tuning out the noise. The moment the ball was tipped, she locked in. She wasn't thinking about proving people wrong anymore, she was just playing. She hit her first shot, then another. Grabbed a rebound, ran the floor, made the right passes. By halftime, she had settled in. She finished the game with a solid stat line, earning respect from her teammates and coaches. The media reaction was instant. Analysts broke down her debut, critics picking apart her game, fans debating whether she was the real deal. She tuned it all out. She wasn't here for their approval. The season was a grind. Travel, games, schoolwork, constant media attention. Some days were tougher than others. There were nights she sat in her dorm, exhausted, questioning if she was doing enough. But she kept going. She kept pushing. She kept improving. Midway through the season, she had her breakout game. A ranked opponent, national television, a sold-out arena. She dominated. Points, rebounds, assists, blocks, she did it all. The crowd was electric. By the final buzzer, her name was trending online. Shaq called right after the game. "That's what I'm talking about, baby girl." She laughed, wiping sweat from her face. "You see me out there?" "I see you," he said. And so does the world. The season continued, ups and downs, wins and losses. Every game, she learned something new. Every practice, she got better. By the time the tournament rolled around, she was ready. The team made a deep run, every game feeling like a battle. She thrived under the pressure. With each victory, the belief in her grew, not just from others, but from herself. Then came the biggest game of her career so far, the championship. The energy in the arena was electric. Cameras everywhere, celebrities in the crowd, the entire country watching. She took a deep breath as she stood on the court, reminding herself that she had earned this moment. The game was a war. Physical, fast, intense. Every possession mattered. She played with everything she had, fighting for every rebound, every basket. In the final moments, with the game on the line, the ball found her hands. Clock ticking down. She drove to the basket, absorbing contact, finishing through the foul. The crowd exploded. She stepped to the free throw line, heart pounding. One shot to seal it. She took a deep breath, exhaled, and let it go. Nothing but net. The final buzzer sounded. Champions. Tears filled her eyes as she hugged her teammates. Confetti rained down, the crowd roaring. She spotted her dad in the stands, standing, clapping, pride written all over his face. She had done it.